The announcement boards at Atlanta International flickered under the glare of fluorescent lights. It was barely 8:20 in the morning, and Gate C-22 was a mess of rolling suitcases, sleepy travelers clutching coffee, and a frantic mother searching for her child's missing tablet. Officer Mia Carter scanned the crowd with a practiced eye, her security vest heavy on her shoulders. Beside her trotted Rex, her 11-year-old German shepherd, his pace steady despite the ache that sometimes crept into his hips. They had done this route together for almost a decade. Mia trusted Rex more than anyone else she worked with. He was a legend in the K-9 unit, known for his nose and an uncanny sense that went beyond training. Even on his worst days, Rex carried himself like a soldier who refused to retire. "Carter, you on sweep too?" A voice crackled in her earpiece. "Copy," she said, adjusting her grip on Rex's leash. He moved with purpose, weaving through clusters of passengers. Mia watched the subtle language of his ears and tail. A quick twitch meant curiosity. A stiff spine meant alertness. Right now, Rex was calm, eyes sweeping left to right, absorbing sense layered over sense. The intercom droned another boarding call. A group of businessmen cut across her path, and Rex halted without warning. His entire body locked. His hackles rose, a shiver ran through his frame, and he let out a low, guttural growl. Mia froze. She followed his line of sight toward a row of seats near the far end of the gate area. Wedged between a trash bin and a maintenance cart sat a hard-shelled suitcase. Navy blue, scuffed at the edges, a heavy-duty combination lock on the zipper pulls. "Captain Jennings, we've got an unattended item at C-22. Mia said into her radio. "Stand by. Bomb units 10 minutes out," came the reply. Passengers began to notice Rex's growl. A little boy clutched his stuffed rabbit and stared. A man muttered under his breath, pulling his wife closer. Then Rex's growl broke into a sharp bark, so loud and sudden that people jumped back. Mia's pulse spiked. She pulled him closer, but Rex lunged toward the bag, leash straining in her hands. His front paws scraped against the linoleum as he slammed against the suitcase, barking, snapping, then emitting a sound Mia had never heard from him before. A low whimper that turned into a trembling howl. "Get back!" Mia shouted, pushing people away. "Move back now!" The area cleared, security officers rushing to form a perimeter. A janitor abandoned his mop and stumbled backward, eyes wide. Mia crouched next to Rex, pressing her palm to his shoulder. "What is it, boy?" Her voice shook. Rex's body trembled under her hand. His eyes glistened. Tears welled at the corners and streaked through the grey fur around his muzzle. Rex did not cry. In all their years together, she had never seen him do that. "Carter, we need to clear the gate," Jennings ordered in her ear. Mia barely heard her. She knelt closer, and Rex's gaze flicked from her to the suitcase and back again. His jaw clenched around a whine, and he pawed at the lock, claws scraping metal. Passengers filmed from a distance. A nervous laugh rippled through the crowd. Then someone whispered, "It's ticking." Mia heard it too, a faint rhythmic click coming from inside the bag. Her stomach dropped. She pressed her radio. "Jennings, I need bomb squad here now. Possible device. Rex is losing it." Static crackled back. "En route. 2 minutes." Rex growled deep in his throat, then suddenly jerked back from the suitcase, ears pinned flat. He planted himself between Mia and the bag, teeth bared. The growl changed pitch. Warning. Urgent. Mia's hand went to her sidearm. A man's voice cut through the chaos. "Excuse me, that's mine." Mia whipped around. A tall man in a charcoal jacket pushed through the crowd, holding up a passport. His face was flushed, his eyes darting to the bag and then to Rex. "You left this bag here?" Mia demanded. I had to use the restroom," the man stammered. "I came back and—" Rex lunged at him so fast, Mia almost lost grip of the leash. The man flinched, stumbling backward, hands raised. "Call bomb squad off," he pleaded. "It's just clothes, just my things." But Mia saw it now, his left hand slipping toward his jacket pocket. Instinct took over. She drew her weapon. "Show me your hands, now!" Gasps rippled through the gate. The man froze, then slowly raised his hands. Something metallic glinted under his sleeve, a slim blade, half-drawn. Jennings's voice roared in her earpiece. "Carter, hold position!" But Rex was already moving. With a surge of muscle and fury, he yanked free of Mia's grip and lunged, slamming into the man's chest. The blade clattered to the floor. The man went down hard, Rex pinning him with jaws locked on his jacket arm, snarling as security swarmed in. Passengers screamed. Phones caught every second. The man's passport skidded across the tile. Mia scooped it up, flipping it open. The photo didn't match. Jennings arrived with backup, scanning the chaos. "What the hell happened?" Mia pointed her weapon at the man still struggling under Rex's weight. "He tried to pull a knife, and that suitcase is not his." Rex's teeth stayed clamped, his body rigid. And then, from inside the suitcase, came a muffled sound, a thin, desperate cry. Mia felt her throat close. She dropped to her knees beside the suitcase, pressing her ear to the shell. The cry came again, faint but unmistakable. "Bomb squad," Mia said hoarsely into her radio. "Change of plan. We're opening this now." Jennings grabbed her arm. "We wait for the techs." "Listen," Mia hissed, and the cry came again. Jennings' eyes widened. "Do it," she said. Mia pulled a multi-tool from her belt and forced the lock. Rex backed off the subdued man just enough to watch, chest heaving, eyes locked on Mia. The zipper peeled back. The stench of fabric softener and something darker spilled into the air. Bundles of children's clothes, a plastic sippy cup. And there, curled in the corner, a little boy no older than 3, cheeks streaked with tears, lips pale, but alive. For a heartbeat, the entire terminal went silent. Rex whined low in his throat and nosed toward the boy, who stirred, whispering one word. "Plane." Mia's hands shook as she lifted the child into her arms. The crowd erupted with shouts and sobs. Jennings barked orders. And Rex stood over them, tail stiff, eyes burning, as if he had been waiting years to hear that tiny voice. Nothing about this felt routine anymore. Mia looked at Rex and knew this was only the beginning. Rain slicked the tarmac outside as emergency lights painted streaks across the terminal windows. Mia sat in a stark white conference room 2 floors above Gate C-22, her hands still trembling as she replayed the child's faint whisper in her head. Across the table, Captain Laura Jennings leaned over a stack of forms while Ethan Ruiz tapped furiously at a laptop, pulling live security feeds from every angle of the concourse. Rex lay at Mia's feet, head on his paws, but his golden eyes never left the doorway. Every now and then, his ears flicked, tracking footsteps in the hall. He was tired. Mia could feel it in the slump of his shoulders, but the tension in his body told her he was still on high alert. "Run that again," Jennings ordered, her voice low but sharp. Ethan projected the footage onto the wall, a slowed-down loop of the man Rex had taken down. The frame zoomed in on the fake passport, then on his eyes darting toward the suitcase, as if waiting for someone. Then another figure appeared in the background, a woman with silver hair and a green brooch, gliding through the chaos like she owned the place. She never looked back. Mia felt her stomach twist. Freeze it there. Ethan clicked pause. The woman's face was partially obscured by the brim of her hat, but Mia could see enough. There was something familiar in the posture, the calm expression. She couldn't place it. Rex let out a low rumble, head lifting, eyes narrowing on the screen as if he recognized her scent from memory. Jennings caught the sound. He knows her. Mia crouched, running a hand through Rex's fur. "Do you, boy? Do you know her?" Rex's response was subtle but chilling. His ears flattened and his tail gave a single, slow wag. The same signal he'd given years ago when he'd found a missing child under a collapsed deck. It was a confirmation. Ethan turned back to his keyboard. "No match in our facial database yet, but I'm running it through Federal and Interpol. Whoever she is, she slipped through initial checks." Jennings pushed the laptop aside. "What about the kid?" Mia's jaw tightened. "He's stable. Pediatric trauma team has him at Atlanta Children's. No ID. He hasn't spoken again." Jennings's phone buzzed, and she stepped out into the hall to take the call. Mia sank into the chair, staring at the grainy freeze frame on the wall. Rex shifted, pressing his weight against her leg. She felt his warmth, his heartbeat steady, grounding her. Then his head snapped toward the hallway, and a second later Jennings stormed back in, her face pale. "They found something in the trash chute behind C-22, Jennings said. "Another bag. Not on the manifest." Before she could finish, Ethan's laptop pinged. "Wait, that's not all. Look at this." He pulled up older footage from 3 weeks ago, the same silver-haired woman wheeling a child's stroller through security, but the stroller canopy was zipped closed, fabric sagging oddly as if it carried weight but not a child. A man in a pilot's uniform walked alongside her, hand brushing her back briefly. His ID badge wasn't visible. Mia's pulse quickened. She's done this before. Jennings grabbed her jacket. "Let's move. Carter, you're with me." Minutes later, they descended into the underbelly of the terminal, the industrial corridors that smelled of oil and old mop water. The trash chute area was sealed off with tape, a pair of officers standing guard. One stepped aside as Jennings approached. "Ma'am, you're not going to like this." The second suitcase was smaller, floral-patterned, and locked with a flimsy padlock. Mia's throat went dry as she crouched, Rex immediately circling it, nose working furiously. Then he froze. A soft whine escaped him, and his paw scraped at the side of the bag. Jennings glanced at Mia. "Go ahead." Mia used her multi-tool again. The padlock snapped. She unzipped the bag, bracing herself for another child. But inside was something else. Stacks of envelopes, each sealed, each marked with different state abbreviations. And on top lay a photograph of a girl. Freckles, dark hair in braids, holding a toy horse. Across the back, in neat handwriting, Rebecca Carter, age 15. Mia's breath hitched. Her hand trembled as she picked up the photo. Rex whined again, louder this time, pushing his muzzle against her arm. The world tilted. She hadn't seen that picture in 15 years, not since the night Rebecca disappeared from her bedroom while Mia was working a double shift. Ethan crouched beside her, his voice tentative. "Mia, it's her!" Mia whispered, barely able to speak. "It's my sister." Jennings's eyes widened. "This isn't random. That woman knows you." Before Mia could answer, a clatter echoed down the corridor. Rex's head jerked toward the shadows at the far end. A figure darted past the dim lights. Maintenance uniform, cap pulled low. Mia leapt to her feet, drawing her weapon. "Hey, stop!" The figure bolted. Rex lunged forward, leash slipping through Mia's fingers. He tore down the corridor with a burst of speed that defied his age. Jennings sprinted after him, Mia close behind, her heart pounding in her ears. They rounded a corner just in time to see the man shove through an emergency door leading to the tarmac. Rex lunged, clamping down on the man's pant leg. The man swung around with a wrench, striking Rex across the shoulder. Rex yelped but didn't release. Mia fired a warning shot into the air. The man froze, eyes darting wildly. Jennings tackled him from behind, wrench clattering to the concrete. Rex backed off, limping slightly, teeth bared, growl low and furious. Mia cuffed the man, ripping the cap from his head. His face was bruised, scarred, unfamiliar. "Name." Jennings barked. The man spat at the ground. "You don't know who you're messing with." Mia held up the photograph of Rebecca. "Where did you get this?" The man's lips curled into a grin. "Ask your little silver-haired friend." Jennings shoved him toward the waiting officers. "Get him to holding." Mia dropped to Rex's side, running her hands over his shoulder. He whined softly but stood firm, eyes still burning toward the man being dragged away. Mia pulled him close, burying her face in his fur. His breath was warm against her neck, his body solid despite the tremor running through him. Somewhere above them, passengers boarded flights, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding beneath their feet. But Mia knew this was just the beginning, and Rex, limping but unbroken, was ready to follow the trail wherever it led. The fluorescent hum in the airport security office was almost deafening in the silence that followed the arrest. Mia sat rigid at the metal table, the photograph of Rebecca still clutched in her hand. She had stared at it so long the image blurred, but she couldn't stop. Rex lay on the floor at her boots, shoulder bandaged after the wrench strike, eyes alert, ears pivoting with every muffled footstep in the hallway. He was restless, head lifting every time the door creaked, as if expecting another threat. Captain Jennings paced behind her, phone pressed to her ear. "Number, we're not releasing him. Get me a federal liaison now." She hung up and slammed the phone on the table, then exhaled hard. "Ethan is pulling traffic logs from the last month. Whoever that woman is, she didn't do this alone." Mia finally spoke, voice low. "That photograph, it was planted. He wanted me to see it." Jennings froze mid-stride. "You think they're baiting you?" "I think Rex is picking up something we're not seeing." Mia reached down, scratching behind Rex's ears. His tail gave a single thump, then he pressed his head against her knee, grounding her. He knew something was in that first bag. He knew that man wasn't the owner, and he knew whoever she is. Jennings's jaw tightened. "Then we use that. We follow his lead." Ethan burst in with his laptop. "I've got something. Check this out." He spun the screen toward them. A series of images filled the screen. Baggage scanners from terminals across 3 states. In each frame, the same silver-haired woman appeared, sometimes in a scarf, sometimes in a pilot's jacket, but always with a piece of luggage. In one, she handed off a carry-on to a uniformed airline worker who rolled it straight past security. Jennings leaned in. "Overlay passenger lists." "Already did." Ethan clicked again. Names scrolled by, then paused on one repeated alias. Margaret Wolfe. No social, no permanent address, but a string of short-term IDs flagged by customs. "She knows the system inside out." Mia's pulse quickened. "What if she's on the inside? A consultant? Someone who's supposed to be helping?" Before anyone could answer, a loud bang reverberated down the corridor, followed by shouts. Rex shot to his feet, hackles raised, a snarl ripping from his throat. Jennings drew her weapon. "Stay with him," she ordered, bolting for the door. But Rex wasn't waiting. He surged forward, dragging Mia out of her chair. She gripped the leash but didn't try to stop him. His instincts had saved lives before, and right now she trusted them more than any protocol. They rounded the corner into the holding wing. The man they'd arrested was gone. A guard lay groaning on the floor, his head bleeding, his taser missing. At the far end, an emergency exit swung closed. Jennings cursed and sprinted after it, but Mia's focus locked on the blood smear leading down a side stairwell. Rex didn't hesitate. He bolted toward the stairs, nose down, moving like a predator on a scent trail. "Rex, wait!" Mia called, but his pace only quickened. She followed, lungs burning as they plunged into the subterranean baggage tunnels beneath the terminal. The air was damp and heavy with the scent of fuel and oil. Distant conveyor belts rattled, echoing like distant drums. Ahead, a shadow darted between stacks of unclaimed luggage. Rex accelerated, barking sharply, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. Mia's heart pounded. She swung her flashlight beam left and right, catching glimpses of movement. Then she heard it, a soft shuffle to her right. She spun, weapon raised, but it wasn't the fugitive. A teenage girl crouched behind a luggage cart, eyes wide with terror. "Hey, it's okay," Mia said quickly, lowering her gun. "Are you hurt?" The girl shook her head, clutching something to her chest. A photo ID hung from her neck. Airport maintenance crew. But the hands trembling around the bundle of fabric told a different story. Mia stepped closer. "Who are you?" The girl's eyes darted toward the direction Rex had gone, then back to Mia. Her voice was a hoarse whisper. "They told me to watch, to make sure the bags weren't opened. I didn't know there were kids." Mia's gut twisted. "Where is she? The silver-haired woman. Where did she go?" The girl swallowed hard. "North loading bay, but she's not alone." Mia reached for her radio. "Jennings, change of direction. North loading bay, now. They've got help." Static crackled back. "On our way." Mia turned back to the girl. "Stay here. You're safe." She sprinted after Rex, the sound of his growls guiding her like a beacon. The loading bay loomed ahead, massive doors half raised, a delivery truck idling with its back open. Two men in security uniforms hauled a trunk toward it. And there she was, the silver-haired woman, standing in the shadows, calm as ever, watching Rex snarl and snap inches from the truck's bumper. Mia leveled her weapon. "Police! Step away from the truck!" One of the men reached for his hip. Rex lunged, teeth sinking into the man's arm. He screamed, dropping his weapon. The second man bolted toward the bay door. Mia fired, shattering the ground near his feet. He froze. The woman stepped forward, hands raised. Her voice was smooth, almost soothing. "You're making a mistake, Officer Carter." Mia's grip tightened. "Where is Rebecca?" A small smile tugged at the woman's lips. "You're asking the wrong question." Before Mia could react, the truck engine roared to life. The driver floored it, slamming the truck into gear. The trunk tumbled from the tailgate, crashing to the ground with a metallic clang. A thin, panicked cry erupted from inside. Mia sprinted toward it, heart in her throat. She dropped to her knees, fumbling with the latches. Rex stayed planted between her and the silver-haired woman, growling deep in his chest. Jennings and backup stormed in from behind, weapons drawn. The trunk finally sprang open. Inside was another child, older than the boy at the gate, bruised and trembling, but alive. He looked up at Mia with wide, terrified eyes. "Please," he whispered, "don't let her take me again." Mia pulled him into her arms, holding him close as sirens blared outside and Jennings shouted orders. But even as she comforted the boy, she felt Rex's body tense at her side. She looked up just in time to see the silver-haired woman slip through a side door, calm as a ghost, leaving chaos in her wake. Rex lunged to follow, but Mia held him back. She clutched the boy tighter, heart racing, and met Rex's fierce gaze. They both knew it. This wasn't over, not even close. Rain hammered the roof of the temporary command center set up inside an unused terminal lounge. The hum of generators mixed with radio chatter and the faint thump of helicopter blades somewhere outside. Mia paced the room, unable to sit still, replaying the silver-haired woman's escape over and over in her mind. Jennings had doubled security, but that didn't stop the gnawing feeling that every second was a second lost. Rex lay on a mat near the door, eyes half closed, but ears twitching to every movement. He had been examined by the vet who traveled with the K-9 unit. No fractures, just bruising from the earlier attack. But Mia could see the stiffness in his gait when he shifted. Even so, when she walked by, he raised his head, as if to tell her he was ready. Ethan came in, laptop under one arm, dripping from the downpour. "Got something," he said, urgency cutting through the exhaustion in his voice. He dropped the laptop on the table and spun it around. A series of encrypted messages scrolled across the screen. Pulled these from a confiscated phone in the truck. Look at the timestamps. Mia leaned in. These are from 2 days before the boy at gate C-22 was found. Exactly, and here. Ethan pointed at a string of coordinates. These line up with private airstrips. Whoever she is, she's not working alone. They've been moving kids out of commercial hubs and onto unregistered flights. Jennings crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. So she's the face, but there's someone higher up running logistics. Mia scanned the messages. One line stood out. Prepare the next shipment. Ensure Wolf is escorted by Bayard. Her heart skipped. Bayard, she said aloud. I know that name. Jennings looked up. From where? Rebecca's file. Bayard was the detective assigned to her case before it went cold. The realization hit like a punch. He retired early, moved to Florida, or so they said. The room went quiet. Ethan muttered a curse under his breath. If a former detective's involved, he knows exactly how to stay invisible. A shout echoed from the hall. One of the airport security officers burst in, breathless. Captain Jennings, we've got a problem. There's been a breach in the evidence storage. Someone accessed the lockers. Mia and Jennings exchanged a look and ran, Rex bounding after them despite his injuries. They tore down a corridor slick with rainwater from open doors, then into the evidence wing. A storage officer stood with hands on his head, staring at the pried open lockers. Paperwork littered the floor, tags ripped from sealed bags. Inventory now, Jennings barked. Mia scanned the mess and froze. The floral suitcase, the one with Rebecca's photo, was gone. Who came through here? She demanded. The officer stammered. I don't know, Ma'am. There was a man with credentials. Said he was from state police. I checked the badge. It looked real. Mia felt the burn of anger in her chest. Description. Tall, greying hair, scar over his left eyebrow. Her blood ran cold. Bayard. Rex growled low, catching her rising pulse, his own body tensing as if he too understood the name. He sniffed the floor near the lockers, then jerked his head toward the stairwell. Mia didn't wait. He's still in the building. She sprinted after Rex, Jennings, and 2 officers in tow. The stairwell echoed with their footsteps as they descended. On the second landing, a door slammed below. Rex barked once, sharp and focused, and lunged down the stairs, leash taut in Mia's grip. They burst out into a loading corridor. Ahead, Bayard moved quickly toward a maintenance door, suitcase in hand. He glanced back, locking eyes with Mia, and for a moment she saw the same calm charm he'd used on grieving parents 15 years ago. He smirked and disappeared through the door. Mia was faster. She shoved through just as the door swung closed. The maintenance tunnel beyond was narrow, filled with pipes and the hum of machinery. Bayard was already halfway down, but Rex surged forward, dragging Mia with surprising force. The suitcase Bayard carried scraped against the wall as he ran. "Bayard!" Mia shouted. "Stop now!" He turned a corner and vanished. Mia rounded it seconds later, weapon raised, and stopped. The corridor split in 2. The left path led to a dimly lit workshop. The right descended into darkness. Rex sniffed the air, pacing, growling under his breath. Mia watched him, trusting his instinct. He stopped, ears pricked, then bolted toward the workshop. They entered to find Bayard standing calmly in the center, suitcase at his feet. He clapped slowly. "You always were sharp, Mia. I told Margaret you'd figure it out. Put the suitcase down and step back." Bayard tilted his head. "It's not what you think. Open it." Jennings, weapon raised, barked. "Do it! Now!" Mia approached cautiously. Rex stayed between her and Bayard, muscles coiled. Mia knelt and flicked open the latches. The suitcase popped open, and inside wasn't a child. It was a file box full of photographs, IDs, and medical records. On top sat another photograph of Rebecca, older now, smiling in front of what looked like a university building. Mia's heart lurched. "Where did you get this?" Bayard's smile faltered. "You think I'm the villain, but I was trying to protect them. Margaret, she built something twisted. I was feeding her leads to keep her away from the worst situations, but she went rogue." Jennings didn't lower her gun. "You expect us to believe you're some kind of savior?" Bayard's eyes darted to Rex, then back to Mia. "That dog, he can smell them, can't he? The ones she's taken." Mia's finger tightened on the trigger. "Where is she?" Bayard sighed. "You're too late. She's already on the next flight. But if you want your sister back—" He paused, stepping slowly toward another door. "You're going to have to trust me." "Don't move," Jennings snapped. Bayard reached into his jacket. Rex exploded into motion, slamming into Bayard's arm before he could draw. The weapon clattered to the floor. Officers pinned Bayard, wrenching his arms behind his back. Rex stood over him, chest heaving, growl reverberating through the small room. Mia stared down at him. For a split second, Bayard looked almost relieved. "Check the box," he said quietly. "There's more than you think." Mia opened the next folder. Inside was a manifest, flight numbers circled in red, departure times scrawled in the margins. Her pulse spiked. One circled flight was leaving in less than an hour. She met Jennings's eyes. "We have to move, now." As the officers dragged Bayard away, Rex nudged Mia's leg, tail low but wagging once, steady and sure. He was ready, and so was she. The wind off the tarmac carried the sting of jet fuel and the low roar of departing planes. Mia ran across the service road, her badge flashing under floodlights as uniformed officers parted to clear her path. Rex bounded beside her, leash taut, ears pinned back against the rush of air. He was moving like he was 10 years younger, every muscle alive with urgency. Jennings kept pace on the other side, radio pressed to her ear. "Flight 472 to Miami is taxiing now," a voice crackled through. "You have 4 minutes, maybe less." "Not happening," Jennings snapped. "Block it at gate H12. Mia's heart pounded as they reached a restricted gate where 2 ground crew members were already arguing with federal agents. Beyond the chain-link fence, the plane's lights glowed in the rain, tires rolling slow toward the runway. "Cut the lock," Jennings ordered. Bolt cutters flashed in the beam of a patrol car, and the gate swung open. Mia and Rex shot through first, splashing through puddles, the distant howl of the engines vibrating in their chests. Halfway across the service lane, Mia saw her. The silver-haired woman, Margaret Wolfe, was walking toward a black SUV idling near a maintenance hangar. Her calm, precise movements were terrifying. Even in chaos, she was composed, her gloved hand resting lightly on the handle of a rolling carry-on. "Margaret Wolfe!" Mia shouted. "Step away from the vehicle." Margaret turned slowly, a smile ghosting across her lips. "You're persistent, Officer Carter. I admire that." Rex growled, low and guttural, hackles raised like a dark halo. Mia tightened her grip on his leash. "You don't have to do this," Mia said, voice sharp over the noise. "You can help us. Tell me where the others are." Margaret's smile widened. "And undo everything I've built? I don't think so." The SUV's engine revved. Jennings yelled for backup, but before anyone could react, Margaret swung the suitcase onto the asphalt and kicked it toward Mia. Instinct took over. Mia dropped to her knees, yanking Rex back. The suitcase toppled, rolled, and burst open. It wasn't explosives. It wasn't a diversion. Inside was a child. A boy, maybe 5, his tiny hands bound, eyes wide with terror. His sob caught in his throat when Rex pressed close, whining softly, the tension in his body melting into something protective. Rex lowered his head, nose brushing the boy's cheek, and for a heartbeat, the chaos faded. Then the SUV peeled away from the hangar, tires screeching. Jennings cursed and sprinted after it with 2 officers. Mia stayed, hands working frantically at the boy's restraints. "You're safe now," she whispered. "We've got you." The boy's eyes darted to Rex. "Doggy?" Rex gave a gentle bark, as if answering, and the boy managed a small, broken smile. Mia glanced toward the runway. The plane was still moving, almost at the point of no return. "Jennings, do you copy?" She yelled into her radio. "Copy," Jennings said, breathless. "Driver's armed. We're engaging." Mia stood, child in her arms, and scanned the manifest again. Another flight was listed, another departure time. The boy stirred against her shoulder. There's a girl," he whispered, voice rough from dehydration. "She said her name was Lily. They took her first." Mia's stomach tightened. "Do you know where?" He pointed weakly toward the far end of the airfield, where cargo crates were stacked under tarps. "There." Mia didn't hesitate. She passed the boy to a medic running up behind her. "Get him out of here!" Then she took off, Rex already bounding ahead towards the stacks. Rain slicked the asphalt, her boots skidding as she dodged forklifts and crew trucks. The crates loomed like shadows in the floodlights. Rex slowed, nose to the ground, weaving between them with intense precision. He stopped abruptly at a blue container, tail stiff, ears forward. He barked once, sharp and certain. Mia approached, weapon ready. She pressed her ear to the metal. Silence. Then a faint tap from inside. She dropped to her knees, pried at the latch, but it was locked from the outside. Rex growled low, impatient. Mia shoved her weapon back into her holster, grabbed a nearby crowbar, and forced it under the latch. Metal screeched as the lock snapped. The door swung open, and a teenage girl tumbled out, coughing, eyes squeezed shut against the light. "You're okay," Mia said quickly, steadying her. "You're safe now." The girl clung to her arm, trembling. They said they'd take me on a plane, and no one would ever find me." "They lied," Mia said fiercely. "You're going home." Behind her, Rex stood guard, eyes scanning the perimeter, his entire frame humming with vigilance. Mia knew he wouldn't rest, not until every child was accounted for. The radio crackled again. Jennings's voice was tight but triumphant. "SUVs disabled. We have Wolf in custody." Mia closed her eyes for one breath, relief flooding through her. But when she opened them, her gaze fell on the manifest still clutched in her pocket. One name, circled in red, caught her attention. Rebecca Carter. Her pulse spiked. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. She looked down at Rex, who met her eyes with a steady, unblinking gaze. "You feel it too, don't you?" she whispered. He gave a soft whine and pressed his head against her leg. Mia tightened her grip on the manifest and stood, the girl safe in her arms. The storm raged on, but in her chest burned a fire sharper than fear. They had saved 2 lives tonight, but the hunt had only just begun, and with Rex by her side, she would not stop. The interrogation room at the Federal Annex buzzed with a low hum from the fluorescent lights, a sound that made Mia's temples throb. On the other side of the one-way mirror, Margaret Wolfe sat at the table in cuffs, her posture still graceful, almost regal. Rainwater dripped from Mia's jacket onto the tile floor as she watched through the glass, arms folded tight across her chest. Jennings joined her, handing over a fresh printout. "They ran the passenger logs," Jennings said. "Margaret wasn't lying about knowing your sister. Look at this." Mia scanned the list. Rebecca Carter. Her heart clenched so hard she thought she might collapse. Under destination, it read, Montreal, Canada. Under status, a date from 15 years ago. She steadied herself, breathing slow, but inside her mind raced with questions. Rebecca alive? Rebecca somewhere she could reach? I want to talk to her, Mia said, voice steady despite the storm inside. Jennings hesitated. Mia, she's manipulating you. She'll use anything she can. Then let her try, Mia said. I'm done watching from behind glass. Inside, the air smelled faintly of antiseptic and old paper. Margaret looked up as Mia entered, and her smile was soft, almost maternal. You came, she said. I was hoping you would. Mia sat across from her, leaning forward on her elbows. Rex was beside her, lying low but alert, golden eyes fixed on Margaret. His presence filled the room with quiet power. He didn't move, but a low vibration rose in his chest, a warning no one could ignore. Margaret's eyes flicked to Rex and lingered. He remembers me, she said calmly. Good boy. Always did know who the monsters were. Save it, Mia snapped. You have one chance. Tell me where Rebecca is. Margaret tilted her head, fingers interlacing. Rebecca, Rachel, as they call her now. She's alive. She has a life you could never have given her. She volunteers at a children's hospital. She smiles, Mia. That's more than you've done in years. Mia gritted her teeth. I want an address. Margaret sighed, as if disappointed. You're thinking too small. I can give you the whole picture. Every child, every family. But I need something in return. Jennings's voice crackled through Mia's earpiece. Don't agree to anything. Just stall. What do you want? Mia asked. Margaret's smile sharpened. Immunity for the families. They are not the villains here. They love those children. They've built lives for them. Ruin them, and you destroy everything I've done. Mia's stomach turned. You've trafficked human beings like they're packages. You expect me to thank you? Margaret leaned closer, her voice dropping. And yet your sister's alive because of me. Rex's growl deepened, claws scraping lightly against the floor. Mia felt a surge of pride. He could sense her anger, her racing heartbeat, and he mirrored it like a shadow. Before Mia could answer, the door burst open. Ethan stepped in, pale, holding a tablet. Mia, we have a problem. She shot him a look. Not now. You need to see this. Ethan placed the tablet on the table, video feed playing. A grainy live stream showed a warehouse interior, kids huddled in cages. And then a voice off-screen. If you want them alive, you'll follow instructions. The feed cut to black. Mia's chest constricted. Jennings's voice came over the comms. We traced the signal. It's coming from a storage facility in Oakwood, 30 minutes out. Margaret smiled again, serene and chilling. He's moving the last of them. You're running out of time. Mia pushed back from the table so hard the chair screeched against the tile. She turned to leave, but Margaret's voice followed her like smoke. Mia, be careful. Not everyone on your side is who you think. Outside, Mia ran down the hallway, Rex sprinting at her side, nails clicking against the floor. Jennings caught up to her. That video, do you think it's real? It's real, Mia said, heading for the armory. She's been playing us for years. We're not losing another one. Within minutes, they were in an unmarked SUV speeding through wet streets. The siren was off, but Mia's foot was heavy on the gas. Rex stood braced in the back seat, head low, eyes fixed ahead like he could already see the danger waiting. Ethan worked furiously on his laptop. I'm pulling satellite views. There's heavy traffic around the facility, trucks coming and going. We need to be careful. They're moving them, Mia muttered. We can't wait. Rain lashed the windshield as they turned off the main highway, following a winding road lined with half-collapsed warehouses. They killed the headlights 2 blocks from the target, coasting into shadows. Team 1 is ready on the south side, Jennings said softly. Team 2, Hold until we breach." Mia stepped out into the night, rain soaking her hair, adrenaline steadying her trembling hands. Rex jumped down beside her, tail stiff, ears pricked. He sniffed the air, then looked up at her, giving a sharp bark. "What is it, boy?" Mia whispered. Rex darted left toward a smaller side building, not the main warehouse. Mia hesitated, then followed. The others started to call after her, but she waved them off. Something in Rex's body language, a tension she'd never seen, pulled her forward. They reached the door of the side building. A rusted lock dangled open, swinging gently. Mia eased the door open, weapon raised. Inside, the light was dim, and the smell hit her first, antiseptic and fear. She moved slowly, Rex padding ahead. Then she saw them, 3 children huddled behind a stack of crates, eyes wide, too scared to cry. Relief surged through her, but before she could speak, a figure stepped from the shadows, gun drawn. "Drop it," the man said. His voice was calm, almost bored. He wore a security uniform, but the patch didn't match any airport staff Mia knew. His name tag read Ellis. Rex bared his teeth, a growl rumbling low. "Easy," Ellis said, waving the gun. "You don't want these kids hurt. Neither do I. Walk out and no one has to get shot." Mia's mind raced. "You work for Wolf." Ellis shrugged. "Work for whoever pays me. She pays well." Rex lunged. Mia fired at the same instant, the shot ringing off the concrete walls. Ellis's weapon flew from his hand as Rex clamped down on his arm, driving him to the ground. The kids screamed and scattered, but Mia grabbed them, pushing them towards the door. "Go, now!" she shouted. They ran into the rain, where Jennings's team caught them. Mia turned back to Rex, who still held Ellis pinned, blood streaking the man's sleeve. Ellis looked up, gasping. "You don't even know who you're working for," he hissed. "Ask Jennings. Ask her what she's hiding." Mia froze, gun still trained on him. Jennings burst in, breathless. "Are you hurt?" "Mia, what happened?" Ellis laughed through clenched teeth. "Tell her, Captain. Tell her how deep this goes." Jennings's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Mia's chest constricted. Another layer of betrayal, another question without an answer. But there was no time. Sirens wailed in the distance, and Rex released Ellis, standing beside Mia, chest heaving, eyes burning like embers in the dim light. Mia lowered her weapon, her voice low and raw. "We're not done. Not with you, not with Wolf, not with anyone." Rex's tail flicked once. He stood like a soldier at her side, ready for the storm ahead. The safe house on the east side of Fort Worth was supposed to be secure. Heavy steel doors, reinforced windows, a team on standby 2 blocks away. Yet as Mia stepped inside, Rex at her side, she felt the weight of unseen eyes. The place smelled of gun oil and damp concrete, and every sound seemed to echo too loudly. Jennings was already there, pacing by the table littered with files and photographs. Ethan sat with his laptop, scanning surveillance feeds. The 3 rescued kids were asleep in a back room under a medic's watch. For a moment, it felt like control was returning. Then Rex's head shot up, ears pricking, body stiffening like a live wire. Mia crouched beside him, voice low. "What is it, boy?" Rex moved toward the far wall, nose working furiously. He pawed at a vent near the floor, then let out a low growl that made the hair on Mia's neck stand on end. She motioned to Ethan. "Cut the feeds to this room, now." Jennings frowned. "What are you thinking?" "There's something here," Mia said. "Or someone." Ethan's fingers flew. The screens went dark. Silence settled in, thick and tense. Mia drew her sidearm, moving toward the vent. Rex stayed close, muscles taut, ready to strike. She ripped the vent cover free and shone her, flashlight inside. A small device blinked red deep in the shaft. "Bugged!" Mia hissed. Jennings cursed. "That means—" Before she could finish, the door at the end of the hall slammed open. A flashbang rolled across the floor, detonating with a deafening pop. Mia's vision went white, her ears rang, but she felt Rex's weight slam into her, knocking her behind the table. Bullets shredded the doorframe as armed men stormed in. Ethan dove for cover. Jennings fired back, dropping one of the intruders, but there were more, moving fast. Rex sprang over the table, a blur of teeth and muscle. He hit the lead attacker mid-chest, dragging him down with a feral snarl. Mia crawled to her knees, firing blind until her vision cleared enough to see. 2 men flanked her position. She spun, dropping one with a clean shot to the shoulder, but the other lunged, knocking the gun from her hands. They crashed into a steel cabinet, the impact jarring her spine. He swung a knife, grazing her arm, but Mia caught his wrist, twisted hard, and slammed his head into the cabinet edge. Rex's bark tore through the chaos as he dragged another man by the forearm, dodging kicks, eyes wild but focused. Blood streaked the floor. Mia grabbed her weapon and fired at the last attacker as he raised his rifle toward Rex. The man fell back, the rifle clattering. "Clear!" Jennings shouted, chest heaving. The room stank of cordite and blood. Mia lowered her weapon, scanning for movement. The kids were safe in the back room, but the cost was evident. Ethan was pale, shaking, but alive. Jennings limped, blood seeping from a graze along her thigh. Rex stood over a fallen attacker, panting, fur matted with blood that wasn't his own. Mia dropped to Rex's side, running her hands over him. "Are you hurt?" He nuzzled her shoulder, a low whine rumbling, then looked toward the vent. Mia followed his gaze. The blinking device was still there. Ethan spoke up from behind the table. "Mia, that's not just a bug. It's a beacon. Whoever planted it knew exactly where to find us." Jennings cursed under her breath. "That means someone on our side is feeding them intel." Mia's chest tightened. "It has to be internal. Someone close." Before they could process, Ethan's laptop chimed. A live feed popped up, not from their cameras, but from somewhere else. It showed a dimly lit room, a figure bound to a chair. Mia froze. It was Rebecca, her sister, older now but unmistakable. She was bruised, blood streaking her temple, but alive. A distorted voice filled the speakers. "Officer Carter, if you want your sister back, bring the girl from the suitcase. Tonight." Mia's hands trembled on the table's edge. Jennings stared, stunned. Ethan's face went pale. "They have Rebecca," he whispered. Rex pressed his head against Mia's thigh, sensing her fear. His breath was hot, his body tense, but his eyes locked onto hers with steady resolve. Mia clenched her fists, forcing herself to focus. "We're not trading a child for her," she said. "There's another way." Jennings lowered her voice. "Mia, they'll kill her." "They won't," Mia said, her voice hardening. "Because we're going to find them before they even know we're coming." She looked down at Rex. He was already staring at the screen, ears perked, as if he could memorize the faint hum of machinery in the background, the smell of oil and dust bleeding through the speakers. He barked once, sharp and decisive. Mia knelt, gripping his collar. "You ready, partner?" His tail flicked once, and for the first time that night, Mia felt hope cut through the terror. Rex lowered his head, ready to hunt. The clock was ticking, and now it was personal. The van roared through the empty industrial streets just before dawn. Mia gripped the dashboard, her knuckles white, while Jennings checked her rifle in the back seat. Ethan monitored his tablet, scanning every feed they had. Rex sat between Mia's boots, eyes forward, muscles coiled. He hadn't stopped watching the road since they left the safe house. "We're going in blind," Jennings muttered. "No time for backup. They'll kill Rebecca if we wait." Mia replied, her voice steady but tight. She glanced down. Rex will get us in. Rex flicked an ear as if in answer, then sniffed the air, nose twitching at something only he could sense. Mia felt a spark of confidence. She'd trusted him with her life before, and he'd never failed her. They pulled up to a crumbling warehouse on the outskirts of Arlington. From the outside, it looked abandoned, but Rex growled low in his throat. Mia killed the engine. He smells them, Ethan whispered. Thermal scan shows 6 heat signatures inside. 2 adults, 4 smaller. Jennings cursed softly. That's Rebecca and 3 kids. We're running out of time. Mia swung out of the van, weapon drawn. No mistakes. We get in, get them out, end this. The side door was locked, but Rex darted ahead, sniffing along the seam, then pawed at a weak panel near the base. Mia crouched, pried it open, and they slipped inside, crouching behind stacks of crates. The air smelled of rust and oil, and somewhere deeper in the building, a child whimpered. Jennings signaled left. Mia crept right with Rex, keeping low. Through a crack in the crates, she saw him, David Chen, the same man from the airport, now armed with a pistol, pacing before a chain-link cage. Inside sat Rebecca, bruised but defiant, and 3 terrified children. Chen spoke into a phone. Yes, I have them, but the handler failed. The dog is still alive. He paused, listening, then smirked. Understood. Rex's growl rumbled through the silence. Mia whispered, Easy, boy. But before she could plan her next move, a second man stepped from the shadows, a man Mia recognized instantly. Captain Raymond Holt, her former supervisor, the one who vouched for Chen's security clearance years ago. Betrayal burned in her chest. Holt's voice was calm, almost bored. Chen, make the call. Tell them we'll trade the woman for the girl in 30 minutes. Mia's stomach dropped. Holt was the leak. He'd been feeding the network for years. She forced herself to breathe, to think. Rex pressed against her leg, sensing her tension. Jennings appeared silently at Mia's shoulder. On your signal, she whispered. Mia nodded, but then Holt moved to Rebecca, grabbing her by the chin. Your sister is stubborn, he said, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. But stubborn gets people killed. Rebecca spat in his face. He slapped her hard enough to send her sprawling. One of the children cried out. Chen chuckled darkly. That was all it took. Mia stepped from cover, weapon raised. Drop it, both of you. Holt froze, then smiled slowly. Well, if it isn't Officer Carter, and her famous dog. Chen swung his pistol toward Mia, but Rex launched before the trigger could be pulled. The German shepherd hit Chen like a freight train, clamping down on his arm, forcing the weapon free. Chen screamed, slamming Rex into the wall, but Rex held on, eyes blazing. Holt fired twice. The shots sparked off metal inches from Mia's head. She dove, rolled, and fired back, catching Holt in the shoulder. He staggered but didn't go down, instead grabbing Rebecca and dragging her toward a rear exit. Jennings! Mia shouted. Jennings sprinted after Holt, firing controlled bursts. The air filled with echoes of gunfire and the children's cries. Rex released Chen, dodging a desperate kick, then lunged again, this time locking onto Chen's wrist. The man went down hard. Mia disarmed him with a swift kick, then pressed her weapon to his temple. Stay down! She spun in time to see Holt shove Rebecca through the door. Jennings was gaining, but Holt was fast despite his wound. Mia cursed and bolted after them, Rex right at her heels. The hallway beyond reeked of diesel and mold. Holt dragged Rebecca toward a waiting SUV, but when he saw Mia charging, he shoved Rebecca into the driver's seat and jammed a pistol to her head. Drop it, Carter, or I paint the inside of this car with your sister. Mia froze, heart hammering. Rex growled low, ears back, ready to strike. You won't shoot her, Mia said, voice calm, despite the terror clawing at her ribs. Wanna bet? Holt's finger tightened on the trigger. A sound broke through the tension, a faint rustle behind Holt. He turned just slightly, enough for Rebecca to move. She bit down on his wrist with feral desperation, and he screamed, jerking back. In that split second, Mia fired. The shot tore through Holt's forearm, sending the gun spinning across the pavement. Rex lunged, slamming into Holt's legs, dragging him to the ground. He pinned him with his weight, jaws inches from Holt's throat, growling deep and steady. Holt lay still, eyes wide, blood soaking his sleeve. Rebecca stumbled out of the car, into Mia's arms. She shook violently but managed a sobbing laugh. "Took you long enough?" Mia held her tight. "You okay?" Rebecca nodded, tears streaming. "Yeah, thanks to him." They turned to see Rex still holding Holt down, the criminal frozen under the dog's gaze. The sound of sirens grew louder as backup finally arrived. Jennings emerged from the warehouse with the 3 children, safe and clutching her hands. Ethan followed, limping but alive. Mia dropped to her knees beside Rex, stroking his blood-streaked fur. "Good boy. You're a damn hero." Rex licked her hand once, tail thumping weakly against the asphalt. For a heartbeat, Mia allowed herself to breathe, to feel the relief flooding her chest. They'd saved Rebecca. They'd saved the kids. But as Holt was dragged away in cuffs, he smiled through bloodied lips. "You think this ends with me?" he rasped. "You have no idea how deep this goes." Mia met his gaze, cold fury hardening her voice. "We'll find every last one of you." Beside her, Rex barked once, sharp and sure, as if to seal the promise. The night air carried the echo far beyond the warehouse, a warning to anyone who still thought they could hide. The night bled into dawn, as Mia sat in the back of the ambulance with Rebecca, the flashing lights strobing across their faces. Rex lay on the gurney between them, his breathing labored but steady, a patch of fur shaved around a deep graze on his shoulder. He refused to lie still, his amber eyes scanning every movement outside, as if guarding them even now. Rebecca clutched Mia's hand. "They won't stop, will they?" Mia shook her head. "Not yet. Holt was just a piece of it. But we're not backing down either." She stroked Rex's head. "And we still have him." At the hospital, chaos met them. Agents in suits flooded the hallways, crime scene photos pinned to corkboards, phone calls echoing down sterile corridors. Captain Lewis from Dallas PD intercepted Mia before she could catch her breath. His face was pale, eyes hard. "We got something," he said, ushering her into a briefing room. Ethan and Jennings were already there, standing over a map scattered with pins and flight paths. On the monitor, a grainy video feed from an airport security camera showed a woman wheeling a stroller past a checkpoint. The stroller was empty. "That was 3 hours ago," Ethan said. "Charlotte International. Same MO as the bags. We think they're moving kids out even as we speak." Mia felt her stomach drop. "We've been chasing one branch while the rest of the tree burns." Jennings tapped the screen. "And it gets worse. This woman, she's an undercover DHS officer. One of ours. Or at least she used to be." "What?" Mia's voice rose. "You're telling me our own people are involved?" Lewis nodded grimly. "Deep cover. But someone flipped her. We tracked. Her badge pinged to a private airstrip outside the city. Planes scheduled to leave in less than an hour." Rebecca, seated in the corner with a blanket around her shoulders, looked up sharply. "You can't go after them alone." Mia didn't answer. She met Rex's eyes where he lay on a hospital bed, now muzzled only for safety, while the vet stitched his wound. He thumped his tail once, as if sensing the shift in the room. Minutes later, they were in motion. A convoy of unmarked SUVs barreled down the highway towards the airstrip. Inside the lead car, Mia checked her weapon. "Jennings, you flank left. Ethan, you stay with Rebecca here." She turned to the back seat. "And you," You stay with me. Rex's ears perked, tail twitching. His strength was returning faster than the vet predicted, as if sheer willpower kept him going. The airstrip appeared over the rise, floodlights blazing across the tarmac. A sleek private jet hummed at the end of the runway, a black SUV idling beside it. Through binoculars, Mia saw the woman from the footage lifting a bundled child out of the back seat. "Move in," she ordered. They split, 2 teams circling the plane. Mia advanced slowly, heart hammering, Rex pressed to her leg. The woman froze mid-stride when she saw them. For a split second, her mask slipped, fear flashing in her eyes. "Federal agents!" Mia shouted. "Step away from the child!" Instead, the woman yanked a pistol from under her jacket and fired. Bullets ricocheted off a nearby fuel tank. Rex lunged before Mia could react, slamming into the woman's arm. The gun clattered to the ground as she screamed, twisting under Rex's weight. Jennings grabbed the child, pulling him to safety. But then the SUV's back door opened and another man stepped out, one Mia recognized instantly. Her breath caught. It was Harrison, the decorated head of airport security, the man who'd signed her transfer papers 6 months ago. He had been a mentor, a friend, someone she'd trusted. "Mia," he said calmly, leveling a shotgun. "You're making this harder than it has to be." She raised her weapon. "You, after everything?" He shrugged, an ugly smile on his face. "We were never just moving kids. We were moving futures, and you—" He gestured with the barrel. "You were too blind to see the bigger picture." "You're going to prison," Mia said, stepping forward. "And I'm going to watch you rot there." Harrison's finger tightened on the trigger, but Rex reacted first. With a snarl that ripped through the cold night air, he launched himself at Harrison's legs. The shotgun roared, pellets spraying harmlessly into the sky as both man and dog hit the tarmac. Harrison fought, punching and kicking, but Rex held on, teeth clamped tight around the shotgun stock, twisting it free. Jennings fired a warning shot, and Harrison froze, staring up into Mia's barrel. "You're done," Mia said softly. "All of you." The sound of approaching sirens filled the air as backup poured onto the runway. Harrison was cuffed and dragged away, cursing under his breath. The woman sobbed as agents pulled her to her feet. The rescued child cried quietly in Jennings' arms, but when Rex padded over, the child reached out with tiny fingers, clutching his fur. Rex lowered his head, letting the boy bury his face against him. Mia knelt, wrapping her arms around Rex. "You saved him?" she whispered. His tail thumped, his body warm against her chest. She looked up at Rebecca, who stood watching, tears streaking her cheeks but a proud smile on her face. As the jet was impounded and the last of the traffickers were taken away, Mia felt a strange stillness settle over her. The fight wasn't over. There would be more leads, more raids, more horrors to uncover. But tonight, on this tarmac under the rising sun, they had won. Rex pressed his head into her shoulder, and for a brief, perfect moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Weeks later, the courthouse steps were lined with cameras and reporters, but Mia barely noticed them. She kept one hand on Rex's harness as they pushed through the crowd. His gait was slower now, a limp from the shrapnel wound, but his posture was proud, his head high. Inside, the trial had been relentless. Harrison had tried to twist the narrative, painting himself as a whistleblower. The undercover agent broke down on the stand, revealing layers of coercion and threats. But the evidence was overwhelming. The files, the footage, the testimonies from children who were safe now, because Rex had refused to ignore a locked bag in an airport. The judge's gavel fell. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing would come later, but the weight in Mia's chest finally loosened. Justice, at least in part, had been served. As they exited into the bright afternoon, Rebecca was waiting at the bottom of the steps. She threw her arms around her sister, then dropped to her knees to hug Rex. The dog nuzzled her cheek, tail thumping. "You did it," Rebecca whispered to him. "You really did it." Mia crouched beside them, resting her hand on Rex's broad back. "We all did," but he led the way. That night, the department hosted a quiet ceremony in the K-9 training yard. The sun dipped low, painting the horizon in warm golds. Fellow officers gathered, some with their own partners at their side. A small stage had been set with a single spotlight on Rex's new plaque. "For extraordinary service, loyalty and courage in the line of duty." Captain Lewis stepped forward, his voice thick with emotion. "Tonight we honor a partner who reminded us what it means to listen, to trust our instincts, and to never stop fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves." Mia knelt beside Rex as the crowd applauded. He looked up at her, ears perked, and she could almost feel his satisfaction. This was his moment, and he deserved every second of it. After the ceremony, Rebecca sat with Mia and Rex under the oak trees that lined the yard. The hum of conversation faded, leaving only the sound of leaves rustling in the evening breeze. "What now?" Rebecca asked softly. Mia looked at Rex, who had curled up at their feet, eyes half closed but alert to every sound. "Now we keep going. There are still names on those lists, still kids who need to come home." Rebecca smiled. "Then we do it together." Rex lifted his head, as if agreeing. His eyes caught the last light of day, gleaming like amber. He might have been tired, but he was ready. Always ready. Mia scratched behind his ears, feeling the steady rhythm of his breath. "You saved lives, partner. You saved mine." As the night deepened, the three of them walked out of the yard side by side, a family forged in fire and loyalty. The city lights stretched ahead, and with them 1,000 untold stories waiting to be heard. And now, to everyone who has followed Rex's journey, we want to hear from you. Have you ever had a loyal companion change your life in ways you never expected? Share your story with us in the comments. Join our community and help us honor heroes like Rex. Thank you for supporting our channel, German Shepherd. Stay with us for more incredible stories of courage, loyalty, and the bond that can save lives. Your voice keeps these stories alive.